Hello, and welcome to the Baseball Blue Book Bullet Point. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Get asked a lot of questions, and rather than me flipping through my phone or showing you a screenshot of the question, I thought today we'd actually go back to the question and get the originator of the question. And that way we could share that with other parents or potentially other youth players that are going through a similar situation. And so this morning, when I began to do some homework on the question,
Oh, you're
I
very, very
really got
welcome. Thank you
excited
so
because I
much for
think
having
this
me.
is something that a lot of parents struggle with, and I really want to address this. We're joined today by Brian Livesey. And Brian, first and foremost, thank you for joining us today. It's my pleasure. As someone that is familiar with the world of social media, and you're kind of in the industry, uh, first of all, what made you follow along with our kind of social media and podcasts, and what do you
Yeah,
generally
well, thanks.
find
It's a
yourself
great question.
listening for? Is it specifically
The
for your
main
son, or are
reason
you
I
trying to
listen to
broaden
you
your
specifically,
perspective
but
with
also
regard to youth
other
baseball, youth
sources,
sports?
is I'm trying to
I'm
get
sure other
an
parents would be curious as
unvarnished,
well.
undirected commentary around the journey that I'm facing with my son. My son's 14. He's a lefty, a pitcher, and we there's a lot of coaches have some very specific information. A lot of travel organizations have specific information, and what I was trying to do is broaden the picture so I can take some of that specific information and try to put it into a broader context, like the esteemed the coaches that you have on the show that talk from a very different perspective from where we are, helps me kind of put the context of the phrases, the advice, the words that I'm getting on the ground, and put them in a context for my son and say, hey, here are things to think about. We hear a lot of the things, work hard. Their talent's great, got to work hard, work ethic on the field, be a great teammate, all of those kinds of things. And you start to hear how they play out in the selection process as in my case, my son gets older and what that looks like. So it gives him things to think about, kind of gives him a destination that's not just about be a great ball player, which is of course the goal, but there's a lot more too than just hitting a ball. You know. Yeah, that feels fair.
One of the things that I always am intrigued by, because my
Yeah.
son's now at 33 and 31, and you're kind of what I call at the top of the roller coaster route, about to hit the top and start to go down into the journey of high school and all of the things associated with it. To this point, as a youth baseball
Well,
player,
in
what have
regard
you
to
seen as
baseball,
far
it's
as
it's
what
pretty
excites your
broad.
son? What are the types of
He's a bit
topics that he
he's a
likes
worker
to
bee, right? He
discuss with
really
you,
gets out on the
or the
field,
questions he likes to
six,
ask you?
sometimes 7 days a week, doing different things. Trying not to overwork and trying not to overload. He likes in his brain he's a bit of a chess player. He thinks about the world from being on the bump, so he's always trying to think about, like, why are they throwing this, how's this guy hitting this, how's this guy not hitting this, how does he not see this coming. We talk a lot about that. It's really pitching focused, but again, as a lefty who's sort of up that right side for the most part, then we get over to first base, and what's another section of this really is that, like, his experience level is beyond my coaching ability. So really, I've moved into this role of, like, the guy who's like the dad throwing the ball. I mean, I throw hundreds and hundreds of balls at them a week and catch for him. I do as much as I can, one, mainly to stay active and do something with my son, but he has far eclipsed my ability to teach him anything. So we're in a lot of training, or he's in a lot of training, and I usually standing there paying attention, just so I can maybe go, hey, did you hear that part about keep your arm this way, that way? Those are a lot of the discussions about, like, where he wants to go. Um, Probably in a nutshell, let me say it this way: our prime discussion is his my son's name is Mac. Mac, what is your goal? And his goal right now is he wants to make his varsity high school baseball team as a freshman. Like, okay, great. That's a good goal. When do you think the tryouts are? We put a date on the calendar, and we start working backwards and filling in here's the work you might have to do to try to give yourself the best shot at that opportunity. So those are a lot of it's around that, and just getting better, getting functional inside of his body, getting functional inside of his brain, and then of course the Xbox and Minecraft and all that fun stuff shows up so too. And you have to keep that in context because they have to have a life. They have to have a decompression zone, and you're just like, okay, it's good, man. Enjoy it.
Right. Well, I think it's great, that he's cerebral to that point where he's starting to think about why would he throw that pitch? Why did he throw it here? Why didn't the hitter swing? Why did the hitter swing, et cetera? Because that is
Yeah.
one of the important foundation pieces of becoming a pitcher. But when you submitted your question, what really caught me is
Right.
there are a lot of parents with left-handed student athletes, and as it pertains to pitching,
Right. Right. Right.
we are constantly told, or if we do a search on any social media platform and we put in pitching, the first word that is spit out inevitably is velocity. Velocity training, all. But I want you to understand, and I would love for those parents that do have left-handed pitchers, specifically, student athletes, that
Yeah.
you definitely have
Not
a
many.
tremendous advantage. And I start with the basic foundational piece of how many left-hand batting practice pitchers do you think young hitters face? And the answer is relatively none. Um, because most young hitters, and I'm talking about youth baseball, little league, Babe Ruth, etc.
Yeah.
A lot of parents are right-handed for the most part. A lot of the pitchers
Totally.
on the staff that might throw occasional batting practice are right-handed. So you're at a advantage because you're on the opposite side of the hat. You're on
Yep.
the opposite side. Most guys are seeing it here, and now your son is going to show it from here. So that's topic number one.
Yep.
The other thing
Yep.
is that the spin dynamic, meaning just the spin
Yep.
from a left-handed pitcher. In other words, right-handers are going to tend to go obviously right to left. Left-handers are coming from that left to the inside half, which is really where we begin this discussion, which is meaning for a left-hand pitcher, we want to begin to understand how
Right.
to dominate their glove side fastball. And when I say that to parents, they really say to me, well, shouldn't he control the outside, his arm side or left-handed side? And I say, no, because the vast majority of athletes that your sons are going to face are right-handed. So the specific answer to your question as it pertains to Mac is yes, there is a discernible advantage to being a left-handed pitcher, and here's why. Within the hierarchy of high school sports as well as college sports, you
Of
do
course. Yeah.
not see a lot of competition as a left-handed pitcher. Meaning, if I trot out, okay, everybody that's interested in trying out as a pitcher, everybody runs out. Typically, 9 out of 10 of those boys are going to be right-handed. It's going to be the same way in high school. It's going to be the same way in college. So you're going to have a demand and not enough supply. The next biggest part of this puzzle that begins to show itself as they get older, and I mean like into that 17 to 22-year-old window,
Right.
the
Yeah.
vast majority of elite power hitters, especially those that are recruited by college programs, are going to be left-handed. And the reason for that is the vast majority of pitchers they're going to face are right-handed. So therefore, there's a competitive advantage. And so, you know, when we're starting to develop athletes, I always say to parents, if your son wants to be a pitcher, have them play center field or right field or take repetitions from those positions. The reason why is they're going to maintain athleticism. They're going to learn how to throw while moving, and they're not going to be static or robotic. and they're going to learn how to crow hop. They're going to learn how to integrate their lower half into
But
all of their throws, and it
my,
gives them uh, kind of a functional trainer, while rather than sitting in the dugout waiting to throw a bullpen or just to play what I call, conventional catch. They're not playing active catch. But Mac, to me, first thing that jumps out is from a cerebral
well, he does.
standpoint.
He has a
What
couple of
is
breaking
his
pitches
version of chess? Does he
that he
have an
works on.
advanced secondary pitch
And he's
that
also
he
he's
likes
in
to
a
kind of bring out,
big growth spurt. So he's got his
0-2,
arms and
1-2,
his
that kind of
knees are getting
sets him apart?
delicate, right? Because he's grown 5 inches in the last 10 months. His it's sprout. Right, you're right. So he went through a little league elbow kind of moment where he was like everybody was like his bones are. You just have to wait for your muscles to catch up to the bones. So
Oh
it's one of
boy,
those
now
journeys.
that's a
All of
lot,
these things of
right?
talent in baseball, and then you add physicality into it, like their body changing. So it's what he thinks about really. I mean, he's got a very controllable fastball. Um, and changeup. His changeup is probably his most reliable pitch if you asked him. And then his curveball, he can dump his curveball on the plate. He can dump it into the strike zone. And of course, like any kid, he leaves it hanging all over the place sometimes. He obviously throws that less and less because he's starting to throw harder, and with the growth and with knees and arms starting to hurt, that we've pulled that back really far. And this may be a testament to our discussions and some of my inquiries into the universe, certainly landing me here, which is how do you keep throwing, right? Because you don't want to be the best 14-year-old curveball thrower, because you're going to be you're probably not going to have an arm left by the time you're maybe out of high school. I don't know, but you certainly want to take care of that. But he likes when, certainly when he's facing batters, it's the change of speed and then the change of direction that's really he sort of gets a chuckle out of it.
Well, this is a question. I get this question a lot
Yeah,
from the ages of 13 to 18, and the growth in there, the growth that occurs during that time period. This is obviously a big time in their life because, one, they're starting to get into high school, so now it's looking to my right, my left as a junior and a senior. They're big, they're strong, they got a beard, they drive.
yep,
So that there's a lot of, okay, I'm trying to keep up with the
yep.
Joneses here. Then I look on social media and I see this guy throws that and that guy throws
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
So here's the plan that I always try to get parents to understand. One, can't speed up Mother Nature. In other words, no matter how much weights we lift and how many supplements we take and whatever our caloric intake is, it's not going to speed up Mother Nature. She's going to work at her own pace, and you're at the mercies of the
Probably,
growth
yeah.
of the growth between your parents and when did they get bigger, when did they get taller, etc. The other part of this is we need to begin to understand throwing.
Right.
Throwing is walking. Pitching is running. So if I look at walking and running, running is going to cause stress on the knees, on the joints. At some point, you exhaust your body to the point where the body says, I got to slow down, I got to walk, I got to catch my breath. Now let's
Yeah.
talk about throwing and pitching. Throwing, I can throw every day and really not stress my body. Pitching is going to stress my body. And what we've had happen over the last 20 some odd
Yeah.
years is
Yeah.
mainly due to
Yeah.
year round competitiveness showcases, but also this little sneaky thing called lessons. So we want to take lessons and it's not going to hurt you. You can pitch and blah, blah. In reality, throw more, pitch less. And doctors will always say, if you go for a walk, it's all about heart health. It's all about helping your body function better. Well, throwing is the same thing. The more you throw, your body begins to figure out more efficient ways of delivering the
Yeah.
object that you put into its hand. And so, when
Yeah.
people say to me, I don't get why you should play catch with a football or a softball. He only plays baseball. He's not a football player. But what I want you to understand is the
Yep.
act and the art of throwing is a combination of the mental component, what the eyes see and what the body
Yeah.
feels is going to get a kind of complete picture when you get into that college year, especially your sophomore year, when that maturation begins to finalize itself. So if I'm your son, I'm playing catch more and pitching less. I'm playing catch with all my grips. But do recognize that Mac has a distinct advantage over all the right-handed pitchers. I think there's something to be said for the mindset of a left-hander. They do tend to be more cerebral. They do tend to be a little bit more what I call
Yep.
tilted in their attitude. They are more aggressive. Um, and so I think if you take the next 4 years, and I use four not so much because of high school, but let's say it's really to the age of 19. You want to use that as the benchmark for development, and especially if we look at college athletics today,
Well,
being older, and the median age is 22. So, being 19 now is kind of like when my son graduated high school at 17. 19 is now the average age of a high school graduate, believe it or not. But, if I was Mac, I'd have two
yeah.
changeups, a four seam and a two seam changeup, something that could kind of go away from a right hander and kind of occasionally be able to run that in on their hands if he was able
It's
to
largely
spot up
focused on
a
high school.
two
He
seam or
thinks
four
about
seam
he wants to
fastball in
play
on
in
their
college,
hands.
but he doesn't. Yeah, he's not
Tell me
really
something. Does Mac ever
thinking about
talk to
college
you
in terms
about
of
college
a
at this
place to
point, or is
be.
it largely
You
just
know,
focused on high school?
every day. Yeah.
And does he incorporate sprint work into his like daily routines or okay, yeah. So that's something that tells me he's a little bit a step above,
Yeah, and
when
plyos and all
you're a
kinds of
young
jumping and back and
baseball
forths and
athlete,
runs. Yeah,
you
it's
kind
it's
of
it's
don't
alarming.
understand the whole sprinting
I've tried to keep
component.
up with
And
him.
we used to
It's
just
hard.
run bases as sprints, and now all kinds of hill work and ladders and so forth. Oh yeah, right, right. So if you had to guess,
Um,
how in your mind,
the
what do you
indications
envision
kind
as
of from
far
my
as Mac
family are that
becoming?
he's going
Where
to
do
be
you
somewhere
see him
between
as
five
far as
ten and
what do you
six
see
one.
as his height
Very
and
very low,
and,
like
and kind of his
yeah. So
growth
he's
pattern
sort of in
going
that.
forward?
He's
Where
kind
do
of
you
in that
think he'll
middle,
end up?
in that zone. Um, his he's in terms of physicality, his body he could bulk up, so he could
Okay,
kind of go
and
kind
that's
of
the
anywhere in
average.
the weight range
Yep,
aspect of things. In terms of like, it's really
yep.
his kind of mental game is really where what may a mental game, not from baseball, but just where he wants to be with connecting the ability. How do I say this? Connecting his vision of where he wants to be with the day to day work that needs to be done to get there. And use day to day as sort of just a catchphrase, but like whatever the work is, it could be monthly or whatever. Um, he's a smart enough kid. He's a middle B student. 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, somewhere in there. So I mean, he has good prospects for landing a college someplace. Is he going to play for college? Part of this is why I asked the question is because there's a lot of advice specific to lefties, like do this, do that, do this other thing, right? Um, but in terms of like the general kind of the notes that you get on fields and the notes you get from a sort of more generalized coaching, uh, it doesn't apply to a lefty, right? Because you're work hard and you land in one of some of these six positions over here, but actually you can only land on the bump in these two, or maybe three, maybe center field. So there's it's really about keeping him focused and trying to make sure that he understands in the context of being a hitter. He happens to, you may enjoy this. He's naturally a right-handed hitter. When he was, I don't know, 3, I have a video from him when he was 3. Put a little wiffle ball bat in his hand, and he's turned right, threw a ball, bang, hit it right over my head. I was like, oh, that was neat. He played tennis lefty. He golfs right. He bats right. He throws left. A lot of stuff where he's just wherever lands in his brain is kind of where it comes out. We have a hitting instructor, and quite a quite a resume on this guy. He is convinced that Mac is a left-handed hitter. And so about half the time he's flipping him to the other side and watching him hit, and it's really, I gotta say, he's onto something potentially because of his physicality. But it's interesting. You see what they do and where they go. I didn't actually answer your question much about where you see him in college, but I think he'll have a good shot at it.
Well, no, I think it's a great. I think what I really enjoy is the fact that first of all, your instructor is not rigid and is open to the fact. Well, he might
Yeah,
be, left eye dominant, right eye dominant. A lot of switch hitters
you know.
at that age, at 13 or 14, a lot of
Okay.
athletes have the ability to switch hit. They just don't trust themselves, and so therefore, inevitably, in a game situation, they tend to go back to where they feel comfortable. But I want to give you two pieces of
Yep.
advice,
Yeah. Well.
pitching centric. The first is, and I used to do this with my youngest son, is I had a pitch pocket, you know, um, and the pitch pocket had the 9 squares. And what I would do is I would take really uh, fire hydrant red tape, big thick tape, and I would block off. I would tape right down if it's a right hand hitter those inside 3 squares, top to
Yep.
bottom, and I'd put a little blanket over the other
Yep.
6 remaining squares with the red tape. So everything in red was kind of blocked off those 6 squares, but the 3 squares to the inside of a right hand hitter. And I said to him, what I want you to learn is how to throw to those 3 spots. And if Mac really wants to take his game to that level that no one else is really preparing for, what you want to get
Yep.
him to understand, and it's going to be frustrating at 14 and 15. It gets a lot better at 16 through 19, I can tell you, is he wants to be able to work his fastball low, middle, up, down, and be able to say, okay, I can begin to throw my fastball in any one of these 3 squares to a right hand hitter. Now I want to take it from my fastball. I want to go to my changeup. I want to be able to throw my
Right.
changeup as consistently, as aggressively into those 3 pockets with complete conviction and confidence, regardless of count, regardless of whether it's a 3 hole hitter or a 9 hole hitter. And once I'm able to do that, once I
Right.
am able to know that 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, I'm hitting those pockets, you're going to find his ability to go through lineups will become much,
Yeah.
much. First of all, he'll be in high demand because he can control his glove side. But the other thing is if a left-handed pitcher can throw a changeup down and in to a right-hand hitter, he becomes a
That's great.
lethal weapon,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's a source of frustration. And that is going to catch the eye of those coaches at the next level that are looking for the pitchers as opposed to the throwers, because we are in a
144 throws.
land that
Oh,
absolutely littered with hard throwers. But we are. Last evening we watched West Virginia, uh, left-handed pitcher. That was a gut check. 144 pitches, and I could hear people all over
yeah.
the social media. Oh, I can't believe he's going back out for the ninth. Send in your closer. But my point is for Mac, learning the zones that he is going to face in the majority going to be the right hand hitters. he's then going to be able to absolutely cruise through the lefties because now he's going to be able to know I need to be middle and up
Right.
and into a left-hand hitter, and then I can throw my soft stuff away, which to a left-hand
Sure.
hitter, which is really uh,
There,
a kind of what I call it's an artist, it's a craftsman. When I know I can throw my changeup low and away to a left-hand hitter and get that 4.63 kind of ground out, things like that. But I think
you know
you're going to be
what's interesting
surprised
too.
that the
There's two
more
things I
Mac
want to say.
pays
One is,
attention to the
firstly, I'm going to
details
say that
of the
that is
craft
terrific
of
context and
pitching,
advice. I
the
mean,
more
for
in
where I'm
demand he's
sitting as a
going to
father,
become
talking
as a
to a
high
kid who's
school and obviously as a
trying to
college
be a
student
pitcher,
athlete.
not a thrower. The second is that you're absolutely right in all, and I consider that we're in some very good programs. There's a lot of work around maintaining your arm care, and arm development. Terrific, and I think it should absolutely be there. But the next thing they talk about is velo. Everything is velo, 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 and it's so infuriating. What's interesting with Mac in particular is that we only talk about consistency. So we've got all the toys, we've got all the the tracking things. Not TrackMan. We have a pitch logic ball, and we have radars and all the we have bits and pieces like consumer level bits and pieces. And we almost never talk about velocity. We talk about can you throw this pitch 3 times? Can you get it there? And working on that a lot. But which leads me to my point, which is he hit this kind of nexus point where he was going like his pitches were like he became it was like I'm like, are you looking at the catcher? Like what is happening? Or when you're throwing, the ball is like magically it's you're spraying. Like what is happening? And it occurred to me, and when we went to the PT, and he came to me, he was frustrated, and the length of his arm is changing. And it's I would say this to other parents out there. It's subtle, but it's immense, right? When their control starts to go, that's precisely the time where you don't want to start throwing more to try to regain the control. And what I did with Mac is that I took a hammer. He knows how to hit a nail, and I put a 3 foot long stick on it. I'm like, now hit the hammer, now hit the nail. He was all over the map. I'm like, the only thing that changed, your handle got longer. You have to get used to the different length. And he's like, it kind of dawned on him. I'm like, oh, he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, you've grown. You can see the lines on the side of the fridge, like he was here and now he's here. All of those pieces in context for a child was like, oh, he's like, my tool has
Correct.
changed. And so again, it slowed down. And so like, just work on, I heard you talk about one time about the curveball, like flipping a can or flipping something like that. We did that over an L screen with a bucket on both sides, just like, get the thing to drop into the bucket. No, no,
Correct.
no hard. Just, yeah, there you go. Yep.
Right. So if you take a water bottle
Yeah.
and so what I always say to
Yeah.
parents, especially the curveball dynamic, is similar diameter, and this one's a little bit bigger. But when you go like this, that water is going to go to the back of the bottle, and you can
Yes.
feel that.
Lock the
You
wrist. Yeah.
feel that all through here. Now, when you try to get that water to go up and over, now what you're doing is you're getting him to understand it's a karate chop. But what you just described, right? What you just described is, and I say this to parents all the time, your son's
Yeah. It's a
body,
good.
and I
Yeah.
use a car illustration, is a Prius. Well, internally, what's beginning to happen is the Prius is trying to become a
Yeah.
Corvette, right? Because he looks around and everybody else is bigger and stronger.
There
We don't understand is
you
the engine is starting to get bigger. We're going from a four-cylinder to an eight. Okay, that's great. But
go.
what
Yeah.
we don't understand is the braking system is still
Yeah.
it's
Right.
still for a Prius.
Yeah.
It's not
Exactly.
for a Corvette. We have to allow the braking system, which is, all the muscle groups, the ligaments, the tendons, they need to catch up. They're running behind. They're like, oh my gosh, we grew 5 inches and we need to send more muscle mass. And so during those 5 years, and if I ask a parent on the street and we talk about velocity, every parent to a person will say to me, "Well, if it wasn't important, why is everybody chasing it?" Well, when are they chasing it? Well, they're chasing it between the ages of 12 through 20. And guess what is happening during that time? Mother Nature is growth. There are growth plates. There are muscle groups. There are tendons. We can't rush that. And guess what happens? The bigger we get, the stronger we get, the harder we throw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Velocity is nothing more than a tool that measures strength and health. When you get strong legs, you run faster. When are bench pressing, you get stronger. You begin to, okay, I can bench press 225 30 times. Well, what do you run the 40 in? I run the 40 in 4.8, 4.7. Okay, well, those are measurables of health and strength. Velocity is a measurable of health and strength. And it's going to occur naturally over the course between the ages of 12 and 19. A plateau begins to occur. You might pick up a mile an hour here or there as you get to 21, 22. But Mac, as a left-hander, we don't have to worry about velocity. We don't have to. We don't have to. In fact, if we were really being honest with each other as parents of pitchers, we would get this kind of foundational thought in our head. When you go to watch a college team, a professional team, or a high
Yeah.
school team, or a really elite travel team take batting practice, how many home runs do they hit?
Right.
Out of 8 pitches that are thrown, how
For
many
sure.
end up in the stands? Well, a couple, two, maybe three, and that's a good hitter. The rest are all line drives. But oh, by the way, there are pop ups, there are ground balls, there are swing and misses. The number one thing to understand is hitting is hard, regardless of the level. What you must do as a pitcher is force the hitter to make a decision. If we do not force a hitter to make a decision, then it's really easy to hit because, oh, that ball's over my head, or that ball's on the dirt. But if we're right on the plate on the outer half, right on the plate on the inner half, we're right on the plate at the knee, we're right at the
So
plate
funny.
at the belt, we force the hitter to have to make a decision. So if we begin to teach that at 14 through 19, saying, okay, let's start to think
It's,
about
you know what,
forcing
it's
the
like the
hitter
simplest
to make a
golden
decision.
advice, right?
You're
Because
going to
it's
have
really
better
true, because
results.
everybody does
You're going to
that, throw
have
harder, throw
better,
faster, throw this,
you're
throw
going to
that.
enjoy the game
And I'm
more,
like,
and you're going to
like,
be able to play
you
for a
watch some
heck
of
of a
these
long
guys, they'll
time.
throw a 78-mile ball, but they'll hit the corner inside of the plate, and the guy's like, whiff. I'm like, that one, that one, do that over and over again. I mean, that's the pitch. Like, you want to be the guy who can control the ball, where the ball goes. And it's back into the mentality of chess game. It's not doors. It's not, like, yeah, 103, 105. That's amazing. Woohoo. I, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what the end result of somebody throwing that fast for a long time is, but it doesn't look good. Yeah.
That's, that's a freak. That's a freak act. That's a freak of nature. But I will tell you
Right.
that if,
Yeah.
as a parent of a pitcher, in your case, a left-handed pitcher, Mac, I want
Right.
you to understand if Mac is able to dominate the inner half to a right-hand hitter,
Yeah.
like if you just simply said to Mac, okay, for the next few years, we are going to be able to just be able to throw our fastball and
Yeah.
changeups into these three quadrants, these three squares consistently, and name it. Okay, middle square, top, bottom. By the time he's 17 through 22, he's going to be in demand. He's going to have a successful career. And what he chooses to get out of the game, and meaning getting an academic, being able to go to a great school academically and having baseball be a part of that, I think will be a wonderful experience for somebody like Mac. And, Brian, I want to say thank you. This is a question I wanted to answer because I feel like parents of left-handed athletes are always pigeonholed. First base,
Yeah, of course, welcome.
right field or
You're
left
very
field if
welcome.
they don't have foot speed,
Thank you for the
center field if
conversation
they're
and the
really,
advice.
really fast and
I
don't have a
appreciate
lot
that.
of arm strength. But it sounds like Mac is a great athlete, great young man, and really in it to win it for the long run. So thank you for taking the time today to share that. Oh, you're very, very welcome. And I want to let parents know, especially those parents baseball and softball specific. The Baseball Blue Book now, as an app, has been redesigned and really is able to provide access, information, education, anything and everything to do with baseball or softball. If it has to do with those two sports, it's going to be in the book, the Baseball Blue Book. So go ahead and on your app store, download and create a profile. You're going to get access to the college coaches, the high school coaches, the travel coaches, equipment
I
manufacturers,
appreciate that. Thank you so
anything
much.
and
Thanks for what you
everything
do.
that
I
has to
appreciate it.
do with the
Everything.
sport of baseball and softball. Brian, thank you so much, and best of luck going forward with regard to Mac. And anytime that I can help in any capacity, please feel free to reach out. Thank you for having the time to join me today. I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.